Okay, and we're going to start in less than 3 minutes. All right, so there's 5 of us here, and maybe we should vote Julian out of here. And I just want to make sure that the rest of you can hear me. So the remaining 4 of you out there who are watching so far, if you could just say yes, I can hear you. So I know that everything on the live stream is working. That would be wonderful. Great. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so an extra bonus, added bonus for those of you who are here at the live stream. I'm actually going to reveal right now all the specific topics that you should focus on for the exam. So if everybody's ready, I will go ahead and start talking about a few things before I answer some questions. So first of all, there are the typical, let me go, actually, here we go. Typical multiple choice on AP exam is 60 questions. Ours will be, I think, 58 to 59. I know I took one question out, and so I know it's down to 59. There might be one other question that I'm taking out as well. There is no FRQ. We're actually, I think we're really good with our FRQs, and that's fantastic. But I want to go over the things that you should be focusing on specifically. So let me start off with first one. Oh, there we go. Definitely know Nash equilibrium. Okay, so that's important. And while we're on the topic of that, you have to know too, oligopoly and the payoff. Okay, there are 2 questions about that. There's one about Nash equilibrium. There is, let me see if there's anything else. There are 2 questions on dominant strategy. Okay, so far right here, you sort of group these 3 together. Nash equilibrium, oligopoly, payoff, dominant strategy. 5 questions right there, multiple choice on that. Okay. Let's also hit a few other markets as well. For perfect competition. Perfect competition, there are, let's see, I know there were definitely questions. There are 6 questions related to perfect competition. Let's go to Monopoly. And Monopoly has 5 questions. Also within Monopoly, price discrimination. There is a question regarding price discrimination. Okay. So we're hitting some of the markets there. Let's go ahead. We've already talked about Nash equilibrium, dominant strategy, etc., the oligopolies. Let's go into monopolistic competition, which we didn't really spend a lot of time on. It's combining monopolies and perfect competition, and the graph is similar to a monopoly. Monopolistic competition, there are 5 questions. Okay, so with these, definitely know the graphs. Here with oligopolies, know the matrix, the definitions, things like that are really important as well. Let's go ahead with the next part. Number 8, PPC. There's a question on the PPC. So don't forget the old PPC. We've got good A and good B. Okay, there's PPC right there. Let's go ahead also, let's start as well with marginal cost and marginal benefit. That's important. One question on that. Supply and demand, just simple supply and demand. There are 3 questions on supply and demand. Number 11, let's see what else. Definitely no price controls. Floors and ceilings. There are 2 questions regarding that. Let's see what else. Price controls, we got that. Marginal utility. Utility maximization. There are 2 questions with that. Per unit excise taxes. There's 1 question. You also have to know what is a command economy. Talked a little bit about that at the beginning of the year as well. Definitely know, going back to the first unit, absolute and comparative advantage. There is 1 question on that. Consumer surplus and producer surplus. There are 2 questions that pertain to that. Elasticity. 3 questions regarding elasticity. Make sure you know, like, there's income, cross price, as well. While we're on that as well, make sure you know the normal, substitutes, complement, inferior goods, and the total revenue test. And those are going to add in another 3 questions. And guys, I'll answer your question in a moment. So hang in there a second. Let me finish this up. Let me go a little bit higher to the top here where we have some room. And let's see if I've covered everything. Have to know allocative efficiency. 2 questions related to allocative efficiency, or what we will call socially optimal. 2 questions there. No derived demand. That's from our labor unit. There's 1 question there. You have to know monopsony as well. There's 1 question on monopsony. Also know the least cost rule for labor. That's important too. Economies of scale. There's 1 question. Actually, least cost rule, there are 2. Economies of scale, there's 1. And let me see. Let me come over to this side. Sorry, I'm jumping all over the place. Public versus private goods. 2 questions there. Let's see. Know the relationship between the marginal cost and marginal product curve relationship. There's a question on accounting versus economic profits. And you have to know also the cost curves. 2 questions there. And we talked about the least cost rule as well. And I think that's it. So there it is. You tuned into the live stream, and I have given you the breakdown of what you need to know. I mean, that is, I think, pretty darn nice. So let's go to some questions here. All right, Austin. Can periods 2 and 3 come turn in our reviews on Friday so we have the same amount of time to do it as period 5? Well, you know what? I would agree with that. I'm okay with that. However, here's the deal. That's fine if you guys want to turn it in at the end of the week. However, if it doesn't get turned in, then I can't accept it for credit. Okay? So that's the scoop. Got to get it in by Friday. Okay? Everybody okay with that? And I guess I'll have to spread the word. So if you guys want to send that out to everybody and all that. Okay. Marginal cost, marginal benefit, least cost rule, and command economy. All right. Does anybody else need the all the topics that are on the midterm? Or can I push those away? An excuse tax? Oh, that sounds good. Everybody, oh my God, Maryland's getting spanked by Michigan State. Poor shooting and poor rebounding. Wow, they're down by 19. All right, so let me go ahead and talk about, let's talk about a command economy. Command economy, let me move that down a little bit. Capitalism, mixed market. Command economy is like your USSR, North Korea, here's the US, Great Britain, Canada. Okay, so a command economy basically the government sets what is made, how much is made, who gets it, here profit driven. Okay, very simple enough. Command versus capital. Okay, I think it's a pretty easy question that you'll get on there, but you have to know command versus capital. Okay. Yes, the test is going to be AP style questions. So just like any of our tests that we've had this year, 5 answer choices. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and let me go to that one question. Okay, so let's talk about the least cost rule. All right. And this is from our labor unit. The factor market. Okay. So, for instance, if we have human labor, and then with capital, we have robots. Okay. So, with robots are maybe $20 per robot. Humans are $10. Okay. $10. So if we go ahead and here's our quantity, so we have 1, 2, 3, we have 4 humans, we have 3 robots. So if their marginal product, if they're the first worker, let's say the first worker, their marginal product is 5. And then the next worker is 7. Then the next worker is 8. And then the next worker is 5. And then robots, 10, 20, 30, and 40. So what you want to do here, the least cost rule, is you want to decide how much of each labor how much of each factor you're going to hire. So the simple, it's marginal product divided by the wage. Marginal product divided by the wage. Okay? So that's wage, wage. So again, so we would divide here. That would be, what, 0.5? I don't have. So anyway, what you do, anyway, I'm not going to go ahead with all the computations. But what we have to decide is we might end up with numbers like 0.5 and 1 and 0.75. But that's the key here, is marginal product divided by the wage. So you're deciding where do you get the best bang for the buck here? Is it going to be, do you want to hire maybe 3 robots and 2 humans, or maybe all robots? So we did a couple of these questions, I remember, in our notes. I'm sure there's a good Clifford as well. But essentially that's the least cost rule. Okay. Next question. Marginal cost to marginal benefit. Well, if you think about marginal cost, that's we think about if, go back, here we go. Marginal cost versus marginal benefit. So if marginal benefit is greater than marginal cost, we want to keep doing something, keep producing, keep consuming. If marginal benefit equals marginal cost, that's okay. If marginal benefit is less than marginal cost, we stop. Okay? Stop doing what we're supposed to do. All right, so that's marginal benefit and marginal cost. Any other questions? Oh, Brian had a question about excise tax. All right, so let's talk about excise taxes. Hola, Katie. And now, Katie, there's some really, really important stuff, and I'm sure Vivian will tell you, and Brian will tell you, and all your friends out there. There was some really, really important stuff that was covered at the beginning of the video. So, anyway, there it is. Okay. Excise taxes. So let's go back. We have supply, we have demand, quantity, we have price. There's QE, there's PE. So the market right here is in equilibrium, okay? So let's say that there's a tax put on, it's a per unit tax. So what would happen? Taxes shift the supply curve to the left, okay? Gives us, call that QT, haha, QT, and then PT, all right? Now, a couple things happen here. Number one, the price went up, obviously. We know that. And what an excise tax does, creates dead weight loss. So this area right here is your dead weight loss right there. All right. Now, since there's a tax, this area right here, I'll do the inside of this, that is all tax revenue goes to the government. Okay? And it's pretty easy. If you have numbers there, you can calculate it. It's the area of a rectangle. If you have letters, then you give the area in letters. All right? So now also, this excise tax, depending on the elasticity of the demand curve, can tell us who's paying the burden of the tax. This is the consumer portion of the tax. This is the producer portion of the tax. Also, this will be your consumer surplus, and that's your producer surplus. So Brian, right there, there is your excise tax that is graphed. Okay? Now, if the demand curve is more inelastic, the tax falls on who? The producer or the consumer? Which one? If the demand curve is more elastic, the tax burden falls on, that would be the consumer, and that would be the producer. And if I got it wrong, sorry about that, but that should be it. So if that falls that way, then the burden is on the more of the consumer. If it's this way, it's more on the producer. Okay? And you're welcome. Graphs for a monopsony. All right. Absolutely. Well, there's one graph for a monopsony. Okay? So let me grab some more paper. Okay. Monopsony. So we know about a monopoly. Let's draw the monopoly first. Okay, so here's price, here's quantity, here's the demand curve, marginal revenue, here's marginal cost. Okay, there's a monopoly. All right, simple, simple, simple. Here is your maximizing point right there. MR equals MC. All right? So in a monopoly, one firm controls the product market. Okay? Whether it be like, I don't know, Crocs or iced coffee or something crazy like that. Now let's go ahead. That's the product market. Let's go to monopsony. Now you have to remember, when you get to the labor market, wage and quantity of labor. Okay, so things change here. Now, a couple things. Got that curve, got that curve, and we've got that. That wasn't a good one right there. Okay. All right, so make sure you have that. Oh, Maryland's really getting killed. Okay, So here is here's your supply of labor right here. Right here is your MRC, and right here is MRP. So of course we're graphing this, but we want to know what it means. Okay, MRC, marginal resource cost, sometimes called MFC, marginal factor cost as well. Okay, so that's the cost of an additional resource. Okay, MRP is the additional revenue added by one more worker. So think about, that looks pretty bad. Think about when we did the push-up machine, and each push-up, each time we added someone, the push-up, since they were $1, they would generate an additional $1 of revenue. Or if you know, if Brian did 10 push-ups, it would add $10 more of additional revenue. All right. Okay, very good. So with monopsony, okay, the monopsony, they're going to be right here, where MRC equals MRP. Now, if you think about it, supply of labor, those laborers, they would rather be out here. Okay. Any questions there? Now, a monopsony, it's where one firm controls the labor markets. Okay. Any questions on that? Let me just double check 1 second on the monopsony side. Throw out the questions. But anyway, the monopsony will, they're going to pay the lower wage. So this is probably, I probably drew that graph pretty poorly though. Will there be anything from Unit 6 on the, yes, there will be externalities. I am finishing up externalities tomorrow, so we will have time to work on externalities tomorrow. No fear, no worries. You will be ready for externalities. And it's It's not complicated. I can go over them really quickly if you like. You get okay. So let's talk about externalities. I'll be going over these tomorrow as well. So an externality is a third person side effect. Okay? Third person side effect. And what happens is if there's pollution, obviously there's a cost to the company. Okay, that's their private cost. But the cost really occurs. Here's our marginal social benefit. And here's marginal private cost. Quantity, price, E. Okay, so what happens here is that if this is pollution, okay, here's a lot of pollution here, yucky pollution. Pollution is going to be a negative externality. I can't think if it's a positive, but it's definitely a negative externality. So obviously there's a marginal private cost to the company, you know, produces pollution and so on. They got to, you know, pay for it there. But there's some type of cost of production. Now, they pollute more. There is now a marginal social cost, MSC. So anytime there's a negative externality, your costs are going to shift to the left. So it's a left shift, okay? And let's just do price, social cost, quantity, social cost. So you see what's happening here is there is, once that happens, yep, you got it, dead weight loss, okay? So it's not good. Obviously, we have an inefficient market. We're producing, think about a couple things. There's too much pollution. Okay? Now, in order for us to get us back to equilibrium, the government steps in. Okay? And in order to produce less pollution, we have to close this up. And it could be taxes, rules and regulations. So it'll cause us to pay less to produce less. However, we're going to pay more in terms of maybe bureaucracy or installation of things, making it cleaner, or taxes, or could be fines as well. So that would shift that over. Okay, so that's a negative externality. Positive works on the other side. Let's do a positive externality. Okay. So what happens here, now we have marginal private benefit, marginal social cost, quantity, there's equilibrium, okay? Let's think, what's a positive externality? Someone give an example of that. How about we can say education. Okay. So we all expect education to give us positive returns. We're going to get smarter, we're going to get better jobs, and stuff like that. So positive externality is to benefit all of society. However, the problem is, okay, here's our quantity of MSB. Here's our price of MSB. The problem is that we are underproducing. Okay, we need to produce here where people want education, but we're producing here. So how? First of all, a couple things. We have, you got it, dead weight loss, inefficiency, right there. So how do we get to that point of closing that up where now we have this quantity? Okay, we're underproducing. Well, a couple things. We could have grants and subsidies that will shift that over. Okay, so those types of things. Same thing with flu shots. Flu shots are a positive externality. We have people that are free riding off of others who don't get the flu shot as well. So I'll be doing this with you guys tomorrow, externalities, then we should be good to go. So probably do some whiteboarding activities too. Any questions? But yes, there are some. Did I ever say there were questions on externalities? Let me see. Maybe I missed. Did I miss that? I don't think I did say that. There are a couple questions on externalities. And I think I missed putting that on there. Okay. Anything else for the good of the group? Cross-price elasticity and income elasticity. Sure enough. Okay, so cross-price elasticity and then there's income elasticity. Okay, those are our two. So cross-price elasticity of demand, percentage change in quantity demanded for A over the percentage change in price of B. And it's going to tell us a couple things. It's going to tell us whether something is a complement or a substitute. Okay? If the coefficient is 0, Okay? They are unrelated. Okay? Now, if the coefficient is positive, it's a substitute. Okay? And the coefficient is negative, it's a complement. So that's to figure out if something is a complementary or a substitute good. Let's go to income elasticity. So with income elasticity, we're trying to figure out, is something a normal or inferior good? Normal or inferior? Negative is inferior. Positive is normal. Okay, so what happens here with inferior, an increase in income, let me move that, an increase in income causes demand to fall. That's inferior. And an increase in income causes demand to increase. And that's normal. Okay, so that's how those two are figured. I know that was from a while ago, but that's the income elasticity of demand. So if you need that, percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in income. Okay? Can you go over consumer and producer surplus graph in the review packet? I'm confused about what happens to dead weight loss. I don't have the packet in front of me, but let me see if I can might be able to access it. Yeah, I don't have that in front of me, unfortunately. I probably should have, but I don't. Can you be more specific in terms of the consumer and producer surplus graph? That would be helpful, and then I can help you out there. Just go over a couple things. Get a new marker. So if we have supply and we have demand, Here's quantity, here's price, PE, and QE. What happens is that if we are efficient, right here, this is consumer surplus, and that is producer surplus. All that. Here's your producer. I don't know why my colors are off a little bit on this. But anyway, there's producer surplus and there is consumer surplus. Let me see what the question is. Oh, there's a price. Okay, the one with the price ceiling. Aha. Who is this person? Forbidden Jarl? Harl? I don't know who that is. Okay, well, let's take a look. So it's below equilibrium. All right, I'll draw that out and see if we can. Supply, demand, QE, and PE. So let's say, all right, there's a price ceiling. We turn the house upside down, and that's at $2. Okay, so let's see, that's our price ceiling. So price ceilings are going to benefit the consumer. Whenever something benefits the consumer, consumer surplus goes up, producer surplus goes down. So this will happen with ceilings. Okay? On the other hand, and I'll show you in a second, on the other hand, with a floor, they benefit the producer. Producer surplus goes up, consumer surplus goes down. So what would happen here, all of this would be consumer surplus, and that would be producer surplus right there. Does that help? I hope. Let me take a look. See. Oh, is the here's a question for Katie. Is that C and F right there? Is that where it is? The dead weight loss? Or is the dead weight loss in here? Which one? The first one or the second one? Yeah, that should be right. Okay, yeah. So what that does, right, thank you for clearing that up. I don't have my stuff in front of me. Right, so that would be your dead weight loss, and then this would be a shortage, because the shortage creates an inefficiency. Thank you very much. See, we all see the cal together. We all work together. Derived demand. So let's go over derived demand. It's easy. Derived demand is very, very easy. So derived demand let's say demand increases for, let's say, sushi. Sushi rolls. So what that's going to do, that's going to lead to a demand for fish. It's going to go up. Demand for fishermen is going to go up. Maybe demand for boats. All of this derived from demand for sushi. So it causes other things to be demanded as well. See if I have if my colors are working. Can you see? Let me put little. I don't think you can see. Well, a little bit. Colors aren't working that well. I don't know what's up with my camera. Anything else? Any other questions? I'm sure the Terps are getting whomped right now. Oh, they're coming. No, it's down by 14. Oh, they lost by 14. Any other questions before we call it a night? A 1-hour review. Oh, the Gini coefficient? Don't worry about the Gini coefficient. And if you don't do that on the review guide, it's fine. That stuff and the Lorenz curve, I'm going to cover that right. We have a half day. right after the midterms. I'm going to do that day. And if it's on any questions that are related to Ginny, it has to do with income and wealth. So don't worry about it right now. It's all good. Okay, if that's it, then we will see everyone. Well, we won't see you tomorrow. I'll see some of you tomorrow. Maybe. Actually, I'll see everybody tomorrow. So, anyway, have a good evening. We're going to close it up for now. And good luck. Holler if you have questions anytime. And I'm going to shut it down. We are done. See you. Bye.